Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with actor Atkins Estimond. You may have seen him in AMC's recent Lodge 49, but today we chat about his role in the new Starz series Hightown, which just premiered. The interview was recorded a few weeks back, and I'm really excited to get to share it with you now. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Atkins.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
And I saw from Instagram that you're making the most of the fun of quarantine, or shelter in place. A little bit of Tenacious D
Yeah.
action.
I'm trying to keep it positive, keep it light and musical, entertaining myself and hopefully others as well.
I had seen on your bio that you'd played in a band even before you got into acting, and I'm always
Yeah.
interested in how that feeling of performance is so similar but so different in different creative pursuits like that. You know, the feeling of being on stage with a
hmm
band is maybe closer to me working on a play. It might have been closer to what you got to do in college, but
Yeah.
do you find that performance itch gets scratched in quite the same way? Can you talk a little bit about your movement between the world of music and into acting?
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed playing music, but one thing I will say that at the level that the bands that I were in at, it was kind of hard to get gigs. Whereas, when you're doing acting, you can do plays, just about anywhere. There's all kinds of black box theaters. There's improv. There's a lot. I think there's way more opportunities to get on stage and perform for people as an actor than there are as an aspiring musician, or at least that's what I found. So the need to perform, I just didn't get enough of that. I mean, we would rehearse all the times, but it just trying to get a show was tough. So, and also we weren't to the point where we were like touring or anything like that. So I was able to do stage a whole lot more than I was able to perform with my band. And music is something that's still really important to me. It's something that I still really love. But I realized that it wasn't something that I wanted to do as my career necessarily. Also, I realized I probably wasn't as good of a musician as I thought I was at the time.
Do you feel like that split between gig opportunities and like improv spaces or indie theater spaces varied on the city you lived in? Where were you
Yeah,
at the
well,
time you were doing that?
I was still in Atlanta. I was still in Atlanta at the time. And I think, obviously there's other cities have bigger music scenes. Like, if you're in Nashville or something like that, being in a band, in Atlanta, Atlanta is definitely a mecca for music. But at that time, at least, I didn't feel like there weren't as many opportunities for bands. Like, if you're a rapper or something like that, for sure, Atlanta is definitely where you want to be. That's kind of where everything's coming out of right now. But if you were somebody who was playing in a band, I mean, you got opportunities, but I feel like you had to be a little bit bigger than we were, had to have a little bit more status than we were to get, on different stages. I mean, we'd play little festivals here and there when we could, but it was still kind of a grind trying to get up at somebody's spot. But I think that, in other cities, like maybe if you're in Nashville, if you're trying to be in a band, or maybe out in LA, if you're in a band, you probably may find more opportunities. But at that time in Atlanta, it was a little bit tough trying to get up. So
I know you had
yeah.
I know you had an interest in acting from a young age, from Boys and Girls Club,
Yeah.
acting in high school. There's always that hump when we cross that line or cross that point of taking this seriously and going for gigs.
hmm
Did you ever feel any sheepishness about that, or was that difficult to transition, or was there a point you remember thinking, this is it, I'm actually going to take this seriously. This isn't just to get into the high school play. I'm going to go out and do this.
Really that didn't happen until much later, really after I stopped being in a band. I did theater all throughout high school, from my freshman year to my senior year. Actually, I played football my freshman year, and I realized I didn't want to hit anybody, and I didn't want to be hit. So I stopped doing that, and I immediately jumped into the drama club. I joined theater at that point in time. And I really felt like, that was something I wanted to do. And there was actually even a gap in between there because, as you had said, I started in a Boys and Girls Club, or at least that was the first time I had been exposed to it. I didn't actually perform then. My brother was the one who performed, and I would watch him, and I was like, I really like this. But I was also kind of shy as a kid. So it's something that I wanted to do, but at the same time, I was, when I got the opportunity, there was like this audition process, and I went and I totally like froze up. Like they were like, hey, you want to do like a little monologue for us? And I didn't say a word. And they were just like, all right, thank you for your time. And I felt so bad afterwards because I really wanted to do it, but I was just a shy kid. But I told myself the next time I'd get an opportunity, I would. And that really didn't present itself until I got into high school. So I was in theater all 4 years of high school. When I graduated, I was in a band, and I was in a band with some close friends. So I was like, all right, I'm going to really give this a go. And when I kind of realized that wasn't really what I wanted to do, being in theater in high school, I still had a lot of friends who were actors and were still pursuing it. And I'd go and see their work, and I'd see their shows, and I'm like, I still got an itch for this. So I wanted to get back into it, and it just so happened at the time in Atlanta, there was kind of a boom in the film industry here. So it was just kind of like a weird kind of perfect timing situation. But what was also tough was I was working a full-time job for the transit authority here in the city, and getting time off from work was almost impossible. I mean, not just to try to audition, but to try to do classes. Anything that I was trying to pour into acting at that time, it was really tough with my schedule at work. It was a pretty good job for me at that time, but obviously, it wasn't something that I wanted to be my career. It was just something I was doing just, for a paycheck, right? Yeah. And, but I couldn't find, anytime I needed to take off from work, and as an actor, you need to be pretty flexible with your schedule, and this job just did not allow that. But what ended up happening was I got laid off. They laid off maybe 2,000, 3,000 employees. And initially I was kind of upset about it because I was like, what the hell? It was a weird thing the way it all happened. I mean, obviously nobody wants to get laid off, but when it happened, I was pretty upset. But then I looked at it and I was like, man, this might be kind of like an answer to my prayers right here. So they gave me a severance package. It was a pretty decent package. And I took that and I was like, all right, I'm just going to kind of live off of this for a while and just really go at it trying to pursue acting. So I took classes. I went to showcases trying to get an agent. And that was the moment when I was like, I have the opportunity here right in front of me to do it. Let me do it. I've been talking about it long enough. And also I'm in a city where there's a lot of opportunity for up and coming actors. Let me give it a shot. So in a way, it was kind of me pushing myself. In a way, it was kind of the opportunity also presenting itself, and those things both kind of lining up. So
can you talk a little bit about some of your favorite moments that you've gotten to have on roles? Lodge 49 is just a super fun show, but you've been in a lot of great stuff. And then with Hightown coming out now, I don't want to have anything spoiled for me, and I'm not sure how much you can talk about it, but can you talk a bit about getting the audition for Hightown and kind of your feelings about the material and what excited you about the role in the show?
Oh, yeah. It's funny, Jack, you mentioned Lodge 49. I was working or preparing for season 2 to start back up when it was actually, I guess, a little bit before that I got the audition for Lodge 49. And I initially when I got the audition for Hightown. Yeah. And when I saw it initially, I was kind of like, the breakdown, it was like hitman, it was a tough guy. And I had not at that point really booked any jobs like that. I was getting a lot of comedic stuff. Comedy, I think, is place that's really kind of my strong suit. And kind of just like regular, everyday kind of people, security guards, that sort of thing, but never anything. I never booked anything like that where it was like what you would say is a bad guy or a villain or anything like that, or antagonist. And and I'm not to say that I hadn't gotten those types of auditions, but I've never booked anything like that. And so initially when I saw it, I didn't pay much attention to it. Not that I didn't pay much attention to it, but I was just like, I gave it the same effort I give any role when I'm preparing. But in my mind, I was like, this probably isn't going to be my role. So, but at the time, Lodge 49, they were like, contacting us being like, hey, we're getting ready to start shooting, that shot in Atlanta. So I was really focused on that. And, but I sent the audition in, totally forgot about it and, was kind of getting prepared to start work on Lodge. And then Lodge sends over contracts and, I get a call from my agent and they're like, don't sign the contracts yet because, this Hightown thing is still in the mix. And as an actor, when someone tells you in the mix can mean a lot of things, but it doesn't always mean that it's a job,
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, okay. But the fact that they were telling me to hold off on signing these contracts, I was like, okay, this must be more than just a little thing. And then after a while, it turned into a real thing. And then I went out and tested. And then next thing I know, I'm booking it. And I'm like, wow, okay. And so I actually didn't get to finish all the episodes of Lodge I was supposed to do, which is unfortunate because Lodge 49 is a great show. It's definitely one of the best experiences I've had working in television. It was just a great cast and a great crew. So I was super excited about starting on Hightown, especially because, like I said, this is a whole new kind of plane for me as far as an actor, doing somebody who's, a villain or a bad guy. So I was really excited about the opportunity to kind of dig into that character. But at the same time, I was a little sad because this show had meant so much to me and I wasn't going to get to complete that season. And I didn't know at the time that it wasn't going to be coming back. I mean, none of us knew. We didn't know until much later that it would not be renewed. So that kind of made it even sting a little bit more. But I had a wonderful time. I mean, the people that they were able to put together on that show, Dave Pasquale and Eric Allen Kramer, there was just some fantastic talent on that show. And outside of being talented, they were just great people to work with, So I was really, really excited that I got the chance to work with so many great and talented human beings. But working on Hightown was equally a great experience. When I got there and I met, the cast, it was one of those things where it's like immediately you click and you're like, I felt like we've been friends for forever, So I had a lot of relationships with different relationships with different people in the cast because, obviously there are people who in the show I interact with more than others, but we all met very early on in the process. And, there was like kind of like a bonding dinner type thing. And that was amazing. And so it was a really great experience, but altogether over all the things that I've been able to do, I count myself very fortunate. Working with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels and Dumb and Dumber 2, that was super cool. I mean, that was like I want to say that was the first film job that I had was Dumb and Dumber 2 on a big production. And so I was like super nervous. And one kind of cool thing that happened was that when I got there, the first day before we started shooting, they did like a fitting and they introduced us to the Farrelly brothers, which that was an amazing moment and experience. But then the next day when we started work, actually, I want to say we did one day where Jim and Jeff weren't there, but then the next time I worked, they were. And Jim Carrey's coming out of his trailer, and he comes up and he introduces himself, and he's like, hey, I'm Jim. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, obviously he's Jim. Everybody here knows he's Jim, right? But just the fact that he came up to me, stopped what he was doing just to introduce himself, I was like, it meant so much. And also Jeff Daniels, who I think a lot of people know is like a pretty accomplished musician, he had this little like kind of travel guitar with him that he was playing in between breaks. And I hadn't said anything to him in the time that I was on set. It was very much kind of a weird, like, oh my gosh, I'm fanboying out, but also like I need to be professional too. But he was sitting there playing his guitar, and I was like, you know what? I play guitar as well. I'm gonna go over there and say, hey, see how it's going. You know, I've never even seen that kind of guitar before. So I walked up to him, and I was like, basically the weirdest thing. I was just like, how's it going? You know, just out of that awkwardness and not really knowing how to start this conversation. And he goes, do you play? And I don't know if he didn't hear me or if he thought that I was asking about the guitar or what. And I was like, yeah. And then he hands it to me. And immediately I cannot remember a single song or lyric I played on the guitar. So I was sitting there just like, what is this thing? You know, and he's probably looking at me like, you don't know how to play the guitar. But so slowly but surely my brain comes back to functioning, and I start to play a little bit, and we just kind of start talking about this cool little guitar that he has. But even in that awkward, weird kind of moment, that was a super cool moment, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a lot of cool little opportunities like that. I've got to work with some really, really amazing, talented people. To talk more about Hightown and what that experience was, I had never been to New York, so going up to New York to work was really cool because that was just almost like it was another little side quest, if you will. Seeing as how I'd never been to that city before. And it's something that I'd always wanted to do outside of, you know, going there for work. But I was there for about 4 months while we shot. And, I mean, like I said, the cast, the crew, which is super crazy. My wife had just had a baby like 3 days before I left to start work in New York. My wife gave birth to our daughter. So it was just like a crazy time. And, but they were super cool about that too, like about, you know, giving me time to come back and be with my family, and also letting my family come up and visit and stuff like that. So that whole kind of 4-month period was so wild and but also really awesome. And not to give anything away, but the show, I'm really excited about it. I'm really proud of the show itself and everybody's work on there. It's another project. Like I said, I count myself very fortunate I've been a part of some really cool projects, but this one, they put together a really awesome group of talented actors. You know, you got James Batchdale and Monica Raymond, Amari Nolasco, right, local. There's just Shane Harper. Everybody is fantastic. Don Norwood and all these people I was able to get to spend time with outside of work. And I think that enriched our connection on set, you know?
Yeah.
Gave it just another layer. So that was, it was a great experience, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to see it. From what I've seen, it should be out on Starz on May 17th. Hopefully that's still on schedule, and the shakeup in the world hasn't delayed anything. And yeah,
hopefully.
Thanks so much for taking time today, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you, and stay safe.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.